All right, let's talk about Brian Thomas Jr., the guy who, there was kind of the top three wide receivers, and Brian Thomas Jr. was pretty much everyone's consensus number four wide receiver in the draft. There was a lot of thoughts like, man, this guy's great athlete. There was maybe some nitpicks people had of certain aspects of his game, and so I was very much interested in seeing how this quote-unquote project-type player was going to play once we got to see him against actual NFL talent. This was a very interesting thing to look at, I think. So, well, how did it go? Let's get into it. So let's start off with the play you see on the screen. It's going to be a man coverage concept, and you see the route that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be running, this more over-the-middle type route. Sure, technically there is going to be a Kansas City player who's also over the middle, but it's essentially a one-on-one matchup. And so for Thomas, really what you want to do is try to get the inside leverage. And if, the quarterback does look in your direction, see if you can create a window to allow this throw to be made. When this play begins, you see right here, it's working pretty well. He definitely has a step on the defender he's going up against. So this is what I thought we saw a lot of actually with Brian Thomas Jr. is, he didn't get a ton of targets, but when he was out there, he was pretty consistently being a guy that was winning. And again, I'm not saying that Lawrence should have thrown it to Thomas Jr. I actually think that, there is a player who he should be throwing it to instead, the more underneath player. And as you see, that's what Lawrence does. That's just the way the concept worked. That's who they should have hit on that play. But for Thomas Jr., had the ball had to go in his direction, he was in pretty good position to potentially make a play. So that's certainly nice to see if you're a Jacksonville fan. But also something like this I thought was really interesting because for Thomas Jr., a lot of what you would see is, in college is he's just so much faster than everybody else. And with Malik Neighbors getting the kind of, most people are paying more attention to him than anyone else. You kind of would often see with his favorable matchups, he would just run by everybody and that would kind of be it. But this play is going to show he is not just a speed guy. The way this is going to work is he's going to fake as though he's going towards his left and then go towards his right, towards the top of the screen. It's a one-on-one matchup, and there is a safety deep, but it's not going to be anywhere in this play. So, okay, that's how this is supposed to work. Trevor Lawrence is going to take the snap, and you see how Thomas is faking as though he's going in that direction. And really, look at the corner who's covering him, and look at how much his hips are turned towards the bottom of the screen. Again, this is how, I said he's not just a speed guy, it's how speed can set things up, right? Because if you're so afraid of, hey, he can blow by me, I got to be aware of that, you kind of have to turn a little early, and once you turn a little early, watch how Thomas is able to cut, and he is open right here. Again, Lawrence isn't looking in this direction, but if he were to be, this would be a window. Like I said, throw goes in a different direction, but still, for someone like Thomas, I think these are showing that he can run these really capable routes. He can be someone who can get open relatively consistently, so that's certainly nice to see. I think you saw a decent amount of these flashes. This one being another one where what's going to happen is it's going to be a cover 2 man play on a 4th down and 5 situation. So, okay, big play. Doug Peterson likes to go for it. But what's interesting about this one, so it's a one-on-one matchup. There is a safety that you have to pay attention to. So, if Lawrence wants to make this throw and it is a deep shot, you're going to have to throw it pretty quickly. But still, for this corner, he kind of knows that the deep shot isn't the number one play he has to be wary of. So he's going to try and jam Thomas at the line. But I think Thomas knows this as well. Because watch Thomas use his hands really to get around that pressure right away, and he had a step on that Chiefs player. Had Lawrence decided to throw it in that direction, it could have gone very well. That's not what Lawrence decided to do. I'm not exactly sure why. It looked like he was looking there and ended up taking a sack instead. Kind of a weird play there. But I thought a really good job by Brian Thomas Jr. on this one. Now we can get into some where instead of saying Lawrence should he have thrown the ball in some of these or not, whatever, now let's go to the ones where he actually did throw it towards Brian Thomas Jr. Actually, this is CJ Beathard who was throwing it to him, but the quarterback throwing it to him. The way this is going to work is it's a man coverage play. It's, again, a one-on-one matchup going away from the safety towards the sideline. A route that can certainly work against this type of coverage, but it is no guaranteed victory by any stretch of the imagination. Beathard is going to take the snap on this one. He does look in that direction. And what I like about this from Thomas is that he is fighting for that outside leverage right away. He knows that if that's where he's going, he wants to have a step on the corner in that area. Of course, at this point, there isn't a ton of separation, so he's going to have to cut smoothly and use his speed to try and generate a window. And when he does, it's working okay, right? honestly, this is pretty good coverage. It's hard to say that the corner is doing anything wrong on this one. There is still a chance at a window, right, at a catch right here, but it is going to be tough. It's going to take a really good throw and a really good catch. And it just doesn't happen. I mean, it's good defense. That's my main takeaway. I think that was a really good defensive play. I kind of thought Thomas did a pretty decent job on it. I think you could argue maybe he could have cut a little bit quicker, which is maybe something that he'll just have to pay more attention to. He, again, is a young player. That's something you might just have to work on, perhaps. But yeah, so that happened for sure. And then also there's something like this, where gotta talk about this play, right? 3rd down and 1. So, okay, are they going to run the ball? Are they going to go with a slant? Nope. They're going with the long ball to Brian Thomas Jr. Again, you get a one-on-one matchup on the outside. With it being the preseason, you get more of these. Like, a lot of times defenses just kind of want to see what they have in their corners, especially when you get into like backup and 3rd string and 4th string corners. Like, can you win on one-on-one matchups, or do you need help kind of thing? So for here, can you win a one-on-one matchup against Brian Thomas Jr.? Well, let's see what happens. First, you're going to see a really good release at the line and really good speed. I mean, you see how he kind of runs by that Kansas City corner. Unfortunately, he's already slowing down at this point because the ball is behind. So it is what it is. I still think this is a good play up until this point by Brian Thomas Jr., but again, you can only do so much. You can't throw the ball to yourself. But watch how he's going to finish this. Watch him fight. He gets back and he adjusts and he makes that catch. That was a completion and a really good one by Brian Thomas Jr. So yeah, he definitely was able to, to do something like that. And if you can do something like that, that's what certainly gets you excited. I'm sure that's what's on all the Jaguars fan pages and things like that. Really good stuff. So yeah, I mean, listen, there's always only going to be so much you can get from the preseason. You can only get so much. It's a small sample size, all of that stuff. But I thought this was pretty good. I thought that he looked pretty good out there. And I think that, when you get past the big 3, right? The Romeo Dunze, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr., the reason why Thomas was usually considered the number 4 guy and the other one to look at is he's kind of the one where we all thought had just as high of a ceiling as those other guys. It was just he might have a lower floor than some of those guys. So right off the bat, it's looking like he might be closer to his ceiling than his floor in a very small sample size. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on him. Before I go, just will mention I do have a movie channel. If you like watching movies, like talking about movies, check out my movie channel, Jackson Kruger Movies. The link is in the description for that. So yeah, definitely make sure you check that out. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.